My friends at Easy Cater are workplace catering pros, helping you find food for everything from daily employee meals to staff meetings and special events. Visit easycater.com/leaderassistant to find out more.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Slagle, and today's leadership quote comes from Gino Wickman. Problems are like mushrooms. When it's dark and rainy, they multiply. Under bright light, they diminish.
The Leader Assistant podcast exists to encourage and challenge assistants to become confident, game-changing leader assistants.
Hey friends, thanks for tuning in to the Leader Assistant Podcast. It's episode 122. You can check out the show notes for links to connect with our guest today, as well as check out the resources mentioned in this episode. Just go to leaderassistant.com/122. That's leaderassistant.com/122. Also, I wanted to invite you to join our premium membership subscription. We have tons of resources, tons of sessions recorded where we talk about negotiation, we talk about leading an executive assistant team, we talk about what it takes to be a chief of staff, we talk about burnout, leadership, all in a group setting with top executive assistants from all over the world. We have monthly group coaching training sessions, and then we record those and share them on our private online community. So leaderassistant.com/membership. Check it out to join us. We'd love to have you. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to ping me. Send me an email at hello@leaderassistant.com. That's hello@leaderassistant.com if you have any questions about our membership. All right, enjoy this episode and have a great day. Hey friends, thanks for tuning in to the Leader Assistant Podcast. It's your host, Jeremy Burrows, and today I'm speaking with Stephanie Slagle. She's the Executive Business Operations Director at MountainSeed, which is a commercial real estate services company in Atlanta, Georgia. Stephanie, how's it going?
Hi, Jeremy. Thank you so much for having me.
And are you from Georgia, or are you just in Georgia at the moment?
I was born in Tampa, Florida, but I did pretty much grow up in Georgia in a place called Fayetteville, which is south of Atlanta. And I now my husband and I and our two children and our cat, we live in Atlanta on the northwest side.
So are the peaches really that good?
Yes, I have to say they are.
Awesome. You know, peaches are one of those things, this is kind of the rant I'm going to go on, but I love peaches. They're like one of my favorite things in the world, but it's so hard to like pick a good peach and get a good batch. Like you can get a bad peach so easily that it's like almost discourages me from buying peaches. But anyway.
Yes, I know what you mean.
All right, well, let's jump in. So tell us a little bit about your role at MountainSeed.
So I support Nathan Brown, our president, and yes, I do. I manage his email, calendar management. I sit in on all of his meetings. I help facilitate the weekly leadership team meetings, the quarterly meetings, and our 2-day annual strategic planning session. I work on helping drive the meeting forward, like drive the agenda, take notes, keep track of the to-dos and the follow-up items. I've recently helped onboard new leadership team members because they report directly to him. And so just being thoughtful about their onboarding and we call it the 90-day get up to speed plan, and helping them understand kind of how we run our meetings and walk them through and explain the agenda and how we think about things. And we're in the process of recruiting some EAs for other leadership team members. And so playing a part in the interview process and will help with their onboarding and training as well. And so Nathan and I really partner together on things. We have I guess I would say an unusual or unique setup when we're in the office. We share an office. It's set up like a conference room, like a mini conference room. And we have 4 televisions on the wall that are the computer screen. So it's kind of like a mission control center. And, we focus a lot on team health and organizational clarity. And we talk a lot about just how we can remove obstacles. We talk like after meetings kind of like, hey, I noticed this, or what'd you think about this? And kind of talk through things, kind of a soundboard, if you will. And take on, for a while, for a couple of years, I was helping run and put together the entire leadership team scorecard, and dividing that out amongst the teams for their departmental meetings.
I appreciate you going through that, because it's clear now why your title's Executive Operations Director, not just, administrative assistant or executive assistant even, because you do so much more. And now, I don't want to spend too much time on titles in this episode, but I know that titles ultimately don't matter. It matters what you communicate to the team on what your role is, and that you're compensated fairly, and all that fun stuff. But I think it's a fun, it's just fun to talk to someone who has the Executive Operations Director title. So I appreciate you giving us a little bit of insight in that. You mentioned, let's kind of segue to team health and maybe culture. Would you say that, from what you just said, it sounds like you're more of a culture carrier for the organization. How have you helped drive that forward as far as team health and organizational clarity?
So I think a part of how we've gotten there, or why we focus there, is we've implemented a business operating system within the organization, and we use EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. So it's like a framework for setting the vision, like where we're going 10 years, 3 years, 1 year, down to quarterly. And we use the EOS meeting agenda. So, we try not to have, quote unquote, death by a meeting. So the leadership team meets once a week. Then all of the leadership team members have an L10 with their direct reports, and so on. And so trying to follow that through the meeting agenda, it helps communicate messaging upwards and throughout the organization, through like cascading messages, and helps elevate ideas or issues or opportunities from all across the organization. So like people on the front lines. And so I think, through EOS, it's also, there's, a team health section at the quarterly meetings and at the annual meetings. And so that's kind of prompted us to follow that path or dig deeper there. We've read all of the leadership team and other leaders in our company. We like Patrick Lencioni's book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and, kind of vulnerability-based trust, and really trying to practice that. So we have open and honest communication and discussions. And I think we have a weekly all-company call that happens after the leadership team each week. And there's just a ton of transparency. The Carl, our CEO and co-founder, kind of communicates headlines out to the organization and just says like, hey, this is where we're going. This is what we talked about. This is what, we're doing. And so I just think everyone has a good sense of like what's going on. It's not really like a black hole. And so I love that environment because I feel like it allows everyone to have buy-in and know how they relate to the organization and like our goals, like how we're going to get there. They play a part. Like every single person plays a part. That was a lot. Did it?
No, yeah. So so if I'm a new assistant that you've just hired in your company at the C-suite level, and my executive has a leadership meeting, can you walk us quickly through like what's that framework look like? Is it like a 3-step framework? Is it like a, what's the agenda? What's the action plan? Could you kind of give us a little bit more insight?
Yes, to the EOS L10 meeting agenda.
Yeah, like how, like practically speaking, how would those meetings look, or what would you need to?
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we always, big first thing I would say is like, we always start the meeting on time and end it on time. So being really mindful of, not being late and not going over, because it's, 90 minutes of the leaders in the organization, 90 minutes of their time. And so you want to be efficient. And so you start every meeting with a segue. So it's like a check-in. And me, like how I do it, we get into the meeting, everyone's there, and then we say, okay, let's get started. We'll start with segue. Jeremy, can you go first? And the segue consists of 2 parts. So what's one good news personal and good news work related that happened over the past week, since you meet every week. And everyone goes around and just shares that. And so that helps, like on a weekly basis, build the team, like get to know each other and, what they're excited about and what they're doing, outside of work. And it's just a good way to kind of like get everyone into the mindset to like be ready for the rest of the meeting. And then we review scorecard. So every department will, during their L10, has a scorecard. And so it's just like, I would say like 3 to 5 metrics per department, so per leadership team member. And we kind of just run through that. Each leadership team member runs through their section of the scorecard. And, it's kind of a simple setup of like metric, is it, red or green, like metric goal, and then like what it was for that week. And then we turn it red or green if we're meeting or not meeting the goal. And so each leadership team member just like reports on like, hey, like, everything was in the green this week. We're doing great. Or, hey, we didn't meet this goal this week, this turn time metric, or, this revenue goal for whatever reason. And just kind of gives quick headlines or explanation of some detail behind the metrics. And then we have a ROC review section. And ROCs it's an EOS term, but it essentially means 90-day priority, or like a 90-day project. And so we set those at the quarterly meetings, and it's the 3 to 5 most important things that we need to get done as an organization. So, we'll read the ROC, or I will read the ROC and say, okay, Nathan, here's the ROC. Is it on track or off track? And so every 90-day priority, or ROC, is assigned to one member of the leadership team, meaning that one person is going to be accountable at the meeting, not that that person has to complete that item alone. It's just someone who's going to help manage it over the quarter and report if it's on or off track. And so we'll read through those. And if anything's off track, we add it to what we call the issues and opportunities list. And so that's just a running list of things that we want to talk about during the meeting. So if it's off track, we got to talk about it because we said at the beginning of the quarter, this is one of the most important things we got to get done. So, what can we do to get it back on track? And then we have a to-do list section where we run through the to-dos we set at the prior meeting. And so to-dos, when we set them, typically have a 1-week deadline, like we want to, or completion time. And so I'll read through the items that we set and ask the person who's assigned to that to-do if it was done or not done. And if anything was not done, we'll just add it to that issues and opportunities list so we can talk about it. Maybe there's a roadblock or something we need to work through so it can get done. And then we have a headlines section. And so this is what I love about this meeting structure is the headlines. We go around, one at a time like we did during the check-in. Each member of the meeting reports on headlines that happened over the last week. So anything that you want to highlight to your team that happened, anything you want to call out, anything you're working on, or any, call out any wins, or celebrate something. And then it's also the opportunity to say, hey, I want to add this to the issues and opportunities list. I want to talk about this. Here's a quick snippet of what I mean. And we do that so that way when we get to the next section, which is identify, discuss, and solve, EOS calls it IDS, that portion of the meeting, everyone knows what's up on the board. They have an idea of what it is, so we can prioritize and rank what we want to talk about. So after everyone goes around, everyone has had the opportunity to speak, to weigh in, and get things up on the board that they want to talk about. Then we'll have each member kind of pick one thing, like the one thing they want to talk about the most. And so we will move it to we call it the on deck column. And then we begin talking through it. So we run everything on Trello. We just manage everything on Trello. It's helpful when we're in the office, but really helpful when we're remote because we all have a board that we can look at together. And so I'm, writing things during, writing things up on the board, noting like anything that I hear that might be something that should be talked about, an issue or opportunity, and then just kind of organizing the board and kind of driving everyone through the discussion and, of course, making sure that we're going to end on time and get through all sections of the meeting. And so we have about, anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes of discussion on those issues and opportunities. And as we talk about each item, there are usually to-dos that come out of it, which is how we solve, like what our solve is for that item. And, we assign it to one person. And at the end, I'll recap all of the to-dos that we set. And that's really important before we all leave the meeting to make sure, okay, is everyone good with the to-dos you were assigned? Do you think you can get it done in a week? It's just a good check and making sure that we captured it correctly and specifically. So when we come back next week, it's not, what did I mean by that? Is it actually done? I don't know. And then we always end the meeting by having a rate the meeting section. And that's also really important. We go around and give everyone a chance to give the meeting a score. And so EOS, says you start at a 10. It's kind of like Olympic scoring, start at a 10. And then if you rate anything lower, just explain your deductions. And so that really helps me and Nathan, or the person also running the meeting. I help facilitate, but of course Nathan's the leader. And so he's also doing a little bit. It just helps us get better. So, sometimes we might rate it low because, you might take off a point because it's like, hey, we kind of got to a solve, but then we kind of went around again. And it was just, when we started talking about it, we weren't really clear on the issue. And so then we're like, okay, next meeting, we're going to make sure that, we focus on that. And it's also great because it's not that everyone's rating Nathan or me, but we're all holding each other accountable. Like we're rating ourselves and how we did together, because if something's off track or you don't understand or something's not clear, then, somebody will speak up. And so it's just, it took a little while, I think, to get used to, in the beginning, but now I think we're also used to it. It's clear, it's consistent across the organization, which is really helpful. And
wow.
That's it.
That's amazing. So you also have to kind of train assistants, and when you onboard and hire assistants, you probably have to train them through this process. So do you kind of let them come in and sit in and watch you do it for a few times, and then, or is it pretty much, is this the top level leadership meetings that you are essentially running? Like who runs them when you're on vacation? Do you train other people to help?
That's a great question. So in the leadership team meeting and the meetings I run, like the one-on-one meetings he has with each leadership team member about their department, if I'm not there, Nathan runs it.
And then it doesn't go as well, right?
Well, you'd have to ask him. But, our CFO is currently running all of her own meetings. So and she is over IT and accounting and people operations, which kind of includes office management. And so she's got, 4 or 5 meetings, with sections of her department that she leads. And so, yes, the plan is when she hires her EA that we'll spend a lot of time together, kind of just talking through, our framework and learning about EOS and learning about the agenda and what to listen for and, what you do at each section. And with, I'm doing that right now with for our CMO, she has someone that's helping her run their board. And so there's a little bit of I sit in on their meetings and show her how to do it. And then after a couple of meetings, we're going to flip flop and I'm going to let her run it and then, coach her through it. But I think what's great too, is that every single new employee that comes into MountainSeed, we provide them with this book called What the Heck is EOS?
I was just going to ask you, is there a resource that we can point people to if they're curious about this method?
Yes. Definitely check out What the Heck is EOS? It's by Gino Wickman. He's got several other books. And there is an EOS website that has some free resources, I believe, and I'll have to double check, but I believe the website is eosworldwide.com.
Okay.
And I know that MountainSeed found it. I did not help in finding this or was a part of the first meeting, I don't believe, but they have facilitators, and we had a facilitator come in and help with the first, getting our, they call it the Vision Traction Organizer, and it is like a 2-page document that says where we're going and how we're going to get there, essentially. It has the 10-year target, the 3-year and the 1-year goals, the quarterly goals or rocks, and our purpose and our marketing strategy, and you can find that on their website. But we have found it extremely helpful, and as we've rolled it out, and pushed it down throughout the organization, I feel like it's definitely elevated the meetings and kind of built it's just kind of team health.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's a very helpful framework to keep everybody on the same page and not waste time. And those leadership meetings are expensive. You've got the entire leadership team, and you take their salaries and divide them up and calculate an hourly rate, and then you multiply it by how many people are in the meeting. That's an expensive meeting. So I think that's great. Thank you so much for walking us through that. I know it can be a lot to those listening, thinking, wow, there's no way my team's going to buy into this. But I'll definitely post those links in the show notes so people can dig into that a little bit more.
Wonderful. Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Nathan says this a lot with, as we add people to the organization, and they're like, what is EOS and why do we follow EOS? I think one important thing, there's a story he tells, I think it's about Chick-fil-A, where they were, because he says there's a ton of other business operating systems out there. I don't know all the different ones, right. But I think the most important thing for an organization is to just pick one and then stick to it, right. And not kind of try something out and then switch and try something else out, or start something but then not roll it out throughout the whole organization and bring everybody with you. And so, some of the stuff, or, when people hear it at first, some of it might sound like common sense or, how is that going to work? But if you just stick to it and you follow the process, we found that it definitely works, and it's been super helpful. And so I just wanted to throw that in there.
No, I think that's really smart, because I've been a part of a lot of teams. They're like, every year it's like, oh, there's this new book that came out and there's this new framework we're going to try. And it's just like you spend all your time trying to learn these frameworks instead of just getting work done. So
right. And it allows the whole company to have a shared language. And, when we talk internally about things, like it's just easier than switching and being like, rocks, quarterly goals, another term,
Yeah, KPI, OKR, yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, to wrap things up, this is a lot of good information, very helpful. Thanks again for going through that. What made you decide to seek out a coach and really for your own career and personal, professional development?
That's a great question. So Nathan and our entire leadership team have leadership coaches, and maybe a year ago, I'm sitting in on the meetings and, I know he's going through coaching and kind of the stuff they're working on, and the whole leadership team's kind of focusing on, wow, we are growing really quickly. And it's true, we are growing really fast. We've just recently added 2 new leadership team members. And so, and I think we've hired a lot of people recently. And so it's great. And they all started thinking like, gosh, how do I level up my skills to make sure that like I know everything I need to do in 3 years, or like I have the skills to be able to continue doing my role in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, as we continue to grow and grow and grow. And I started thinking about that, and from the perspective of like, oh my gosh, I love my job. I enjoy working with Nathan. I tell him all the time, I'm like, I want to retire from MountainSeed. Like, I always want to work with you. And so, I just started having conversations with him, like, hey, what do you think I need to like focus on, or like, what are you going to focus on, so I understand like your new skills and what's going to be happening. And we just, had those like open discussions, and he had introduced me to Melba Duncan's article in the Harvard Business Review. And then, yes, and that was great. And, I'm so thankful that Nathan and the organization see the value in leadership coaches and the value in support roles, and making sure executives and other leaders in the organization have the support they need to do their job well. And then we kind of went on a hunt. Like, I was Googling so much, trying to find anything I could, and I came across Maya Seibel Carpenter's article in Medium, and I can send you the link. It's about elevating the executive elevating the executive assistant. Oh my gosh, I'm getting that wrong, but I will.
Well, you can send me the link. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yes, I'll send it. But it was a great article, and I wanted to find a coach that could, like, as these roles are evolving and the responsibilities are changing, trying to find someone who understood that. And I just happened to email her, and she responded, and we were so excited. And we had a call with her, and she said, I think I just reached out and said, hey, I would love to just chat and ask you a couple of questions. And she was so kind and gracious. And I talked to her, and then Nathan and I had a call with her, and she offered coaching. And it's been a tremendous help. And I think one thing that's, for anyone out there, like, you've got to drive your own career development. Like, it's not going to work if you don't want it. Like, if you don't believe or like want to go through coaching, or, it's, you've got to want it and seek it out. And, I just want to do everything I can to make sure that I can still contribute and be valuable and help support Nathan and the organization as we get bigger. That's really what it all stemmed from.
Yeah. So does your company pay for the coaching?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
Well, hopefully that's encouraging to those listening. Now, I'm not saying that personally paying for coaching is not worth it, but I do think that it's better for you to ask your company to pay for it first. So as part of your professional development. So that's awesome. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, with your cat and your 2 kids. I'm sure they keep you busy, especially the cat. But yeah, just good luck with you and at MountainSeed. Sounds like a great company to work for, a great executive to work for. Is there anywhere that listeners can reach out and say hi and connect with you?
Yes, on my LinkedIn page. That would be great.
Awesome. Well, I'll put those in the show notes, and people can reach out and connect. And yeah, we'll look forward to staying connected with you on the Leader Assistant Circle community. And
yes.
Yeah, thanks again for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeremy. And thank you so much for writing your book and creating a community and a space where we can network and, share resources. I've found it extremely helpful, and I'll definitely be referring everyone I know to it.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks again for listening, and thank you, Stephanie, for a great interview. Check out the show notes at leaderassistant.com/122 and join our free global community on Circle at leaderassistant.com/community. Talk to you next time.
Please review on Apple Podcasts. GoBulls.com